You know what is absolutely exhausting? Trying. No, really, the sheer, bone-deep, soul-draining act of trying so hard that your jaw is clenched at 2 a.m. and your vision is slightly blurry. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a tiny voice is whispering, maybe I should just become a goat farmer. That kind of trying. That is what we are talking about today. Because I want to start right here, right now, with a question that I hope lands somewhere deep in your chest. What if the thing that is standing between you and everything you have been praying for, working toward, losing sleep over, what if that thing is not your lack of effort? What if it is actually the effort itself? What if the very force with which you are gripping your dream is the reason it keeps slipping through your fingers? Now I know what you are thinking. That sounds like something a person says right before they tell me to do nothing and call it manifesting. And I promise you, that is not where we are going. Stay with me. Because what I am about to share with you today changed everything for me, and I believe with every fiber of my being that it will change everything for you too. So go ahead, get comfortable, maybe get a snack. This is going to be a real conversation. Let us begin with you, darling, because you deserve to be seen right now. You have been working. Oh, you have been working. You have made the vision boards. You have set the alarms. You have listened to every podcast, read every book, watched every video, and by the way, thank you for being here. Your loyalty is noted and appreciated. You have written the affirmations. You have said them in the mirror while your roommate walked by and gave you a very concerned look. You have done the journaling, the gratitude lists, the cold showers, which, can we just acknowledge, take an absolutely unreasonable amount of willpower before 10 a.m. And yet something still feels stuck. Something still feels just slightly out of reach. Like you are on your tiptoes, and the shelf is 1 inch too high, and you have been stretching for what feels like years, and your calves are burning, and frankly, you are starting to wonder if the thing on the shelf was even worth it in the first place. That feeling that is real, that is not weakness, that is not failure, that is not the universe telling you that you are not good enough, or that your dreams are too big, or that you should go back to playing it safe. That feeling is actually a very important signal. And today, we are going to decode it together. Here is what I have come to understand. After years of watching people, brilliant, capable, passionate, deserving, people struggle not because they lacked talent or opportunity, but because they were operating from a place of such relentless force that the universe, life, God, the infinite intelligence, whatever you call it, could not get a single word in edgewise. You ever try to have a conversation with someone who will not stop talking? You want to give them the most beautiful, perfect answer to their question, but they just keep going, filling every silence, plugging every gap, terrified that if they stop for even 1 second, everything will fall apart. That is what forcing looks like from the outside. And the universe, bless its heart, is standing there with the answer, waiting for you to just pause. Now let us get into the real meat of this, because I am not here to speak in beautiful riddles and send you home confused. I want you to understand, on a practical and even scientific level, why forcing works against you. There is a concept in psychology called the Zeigarnik effect. A Russian psychologist named Bluma Zeigarnik discovered that people remember unfinished tasks far better than completed ones. Our brains are literally wired to fixate on the incomplete, which means when you have a dream that has not yet materialized, your brain is going to devote an enormous amount of mental energy to it. And that is actually fine. That is the brain doing its job. But here is where it goes sideways. When that fixation becomes obsession, when it becomes desperate grasping, your brain shifts from creative problem-solving mode into threat response mode. In threat response mode, what scientists call the fight or flight state, the prefrontal cortex, which is your creative, visionary, solution-finding brain, essentially goes offline. The blood and energy in your brain literally redirect toward survival functions. You become reactive instead of creative. You become panicked instead of inspired. You make decisions from fear instead of faith. And here is the cruel joke of it all. The more desperately you need the thing, the less equipped your brain becomes to actually get it. Forcing creates the very neurological conditions that make success harder. Is that not wild? You are working harder and your brain is working less. That is the most unfair trade deal I have ever heard of, and yet most of us are operating under it every single day. Now here is where I want to introduce you to a principle that I have built my entire understanding of life and success upon. And it is this: there is a divine order to things, not a passive order, not a sit around and wait kind of order, but an intelligent, responsive, living order that actually wants to cooperate with you if you will let it. Think of it like a river. A river knows where it is going. It does not panic. It does not force its way through a mountain by sheer willpower alone. When it meets an obstacle, it goes around. It finds the path. It trusts the pull of gravity, and it moves steadily, powerfully, inevitably to the sea. And the river never, not once, sits on a rock and cries about the mountain. It just moves. You, my friend, are the river, and you have been trying to be the mountain. There is a beautiful ancient principle of non-resistance. The idea that what you resist persists, and what you release transforms. This is not passivity. This is not giving up. This is the most advanced form of trust available to a human being. It is saying, I know what I want. I have done my part, and I am now creating space for it to arrive. Because here is something that nobody talks about enough. Your breakthrough is not waiting for you to work harder. It is waiting for you to get out of your own way. I want to tell you about a woman I know. Let us call her Patricia, because she would hate that name and this will be funnier. Patricia wanted a business. She had the idea, the passion, the skills. She worked 18-hour days. She pitched everyone who would listen. She sent emails at midnight. She updated her website 11 times in 2 months. She spent more money on courses than she did on groceries, and at one point her diet consisted primarily of determination and stress granola bars, and nothing happened. Or rather, things happened, but none of them were the thing. And the harder she pushed, the more everything seemed to resist. Then one weekend, completely by accident, she got sick. Nothing serious, just a bad cold. The kind that forces you to lie on the couch and watch old films and drink tea and not do anything because you physically cannot. And in that enforced stillness, she had an idea. A small, quiet, ridiculous idea that she had been too busy to hear for months. She acted on it the following week, and within 30 days, she had her first real client. Then her second. Then a waiting list. The idea had been there the whole time. She just could not hear it over the noise of her own desperation. That story is not unique. I have seen it play out in different shapes and sizes more times than I can count. The job offer that comes the week after someone stops obsessively checking their email. The relationship that blossoms after someone genuinely decides they are fine on their own. The creative breakthrough that arrives in the shower, not at the desk. The business deal that closes after the founder stops micromanaging every detail and takes a walk in the park. This is not coincidence. This is not luck. This is law. The law is simply this: when you release the desperate need for a thing, you create the conditions for that thing to arrive. Not because the universe is playing games with you, not because you need to be punished for wanting too much, but because desperation closes doors and trust opens them. Because force creates friction and flow creates momentum. Because the thing you want is also moving toward you, and it can only reach you when you stop running in the wrong direction. Now let us talk about what this actually looks like in practice. Because I told you this is not a passive philosophy, and I meant that. Step 1 is awareness. Before you can release anything, you have to know what you are gripping. So here is your assignment, and I want you to take this seriously, even though it sounds almost absurdly simple. Get out a piece of paper or your phone. I am not a snob. And write down the one thing in your life that you are forcing the hardest right now. The one thing that keeps you up at night. The one thing you are white-knuckling. The one thing you have convinced yourself you must figure out immediately, or your entire life will unravel. Write it down. Just naming it is an act of power. Step 2 is what I call the audit of attachment. Ask yourself 3 questions about that thing. First, am I taking inspired action or frantic action? There is a difference. Inspired action feels purposeful, even energizing, even when it is hard. Frantic action feels desperate, like you are running from something rather than towards something. Second, am I making decisions from trust or from fear? Trust says, I am moving forward because I believe. Fear says, I have to do this now, or everything falls apart. Third, am I leaving any space for things to unfold in ways I have not imagined? Or have I decided so firmly how this has to happen that I am rejecting every other possibility the universe is trying to hand me? Be honest with yourself here. This audit is not about judgment. It is about awareness. You cannot change what you cannot see. Step 3 is what I call the graceful pivot. And this is where people get nervous, because they think, I am going to tell them to quit. I am not telling you to quit. I am telling you to shift the energy from which you are pursuing your goal. Here is a practical way to do this. For every action you take toward your goal this week, I want you to also do one thing that has absolutely nothing to do with your goal. Take a walk with no destination. Call a friend you have been neglecting. Cook a meal from scratch. Go to a museum. Read a novel. Do something that replenishes you. Something that reminds you that you are a full, rich, interesting human being who is not defined by whether or not this one thing happens. Why? Because breakthroughs love a rested mind. Because genius loves a spacious life. Because the thing you have been trying so hard to attract is not attracted to your exhaustion, it is attracted to your aliveness. And you cannot be fully alive when you are running on fumes and pressure and the particular brand of anxiety that comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. Step 4, and this is the one that will feel the most counterintuitive, so stay with me, is surrender. But here is the distinction that matters enormously. Surrender is not giving up. Surrender is handing the how over to something greater than your current perspective. It is saying, I want this. I have done what I know to do, and I trust that the path forward exists, even if I cannot see it yet. There is a phrase I love with my whole heart: let go and let God. Now, whatever that word means to you, God, the universe, infinite intelligence, your highest self, the principle is the same. You are not in this alone. You never were. And the wisest thing you can do is acknowledge that you're limited, stressed, sleep-deprived,